Hello. All right, let's start this. Okay. Hey everyone, Sycrastream here, and today I'm streaming because I tried streaming on the iPad. I wanted to make a cool iPad thing, and it didn't work. It didn't work on the iPad now, so therefore I am streaming here. Thanks to IBville. He suggested I do a normal stream, so that's what I'm doing. Yeah, so I feel bad. I feel bad that it didn't work. I was really hoping it would, because that would have been cool. That would have been great. Like I would have liked to do a stream, but I'm gonna hang out with you guys. So I'm reading the chat, and checking it twice, making sure I answer questions. So if you have questions, you can ask them. Very informal. This was not planned, so probably it's gonna be one of those things. You know how it is. All right. So I figure I still should talk about the iPad, even though this is not on an iPad. It's embarrassing, but basically, yeah, this is an iPad review. So okay, let's do this. Let's do the iPad. So do an unboxing video. Cool. Like here, okay, so here's the iPad Pro. This is the thing, like, see, that's my hand right there. And I'm showing you, like, this is an iPad Pro. This is a small one. Mine is like bigger than that. All right. So it's cool and it's expensive. I paid about $1,500 for this. These are also my hands. Everything is my hand. And I got this big one. So what do I think? Was it worth the $1,500? Yes, I think so. For me, it was, but there are caveats. So first of all, the first thing that is super important is I didn't really like it at first because of certain things, but luckily, like, I got Flavia on iPad first. This is what hers looks like. It's got a screen protector on, and it's got this case. This is very important. The screen protector is like from Japan. Yeah. Yeah, it's from Japan.
It's a paper one.
It's a paper one. It makes it feel like paper. But it's matte, so you'll see there's not much reflection. Whereas on mine, you can see I have a screen protector, but it's like the super shiny one, so it's like glass. And because I like to work on a glass surface, like, I'm used to it. I'm used to drawing on the Cintiq, so I'm very used to glass. But so for me, that's no problem. But if you like matte, like you like harder surfaces, then you can definitely get matte surface. So yeah, the price is very expensive. Like, for me anyway, $1,500 was pretty big, and I don't remember what storage one I got, but it was expensive. And then, but the Cintiq I had was about $2,000. So Mobius Loop is asking, what is the point of getting the iPad if you already have a Cintiq? That's a very good question, and I will answer it. So one of the things the iPad does better is something, I think it's called parallax. So let's say this is a screen, right? And we're like zoomed in, really zoomed in close to the screen. What happens is, if your pen is here on a Cintiq, and like your pen is like here and you're drawing a line here, what actually happens is, you see how there's a bit of thickness to this? Your actual line is gonna be like a bit off. Like, this isn't a huge deal, but it's there. Whereas with the iPad, it's like much closer. So it really feels like you're drawing. The other thing is mobility. Like, that's the huge thing. Really, there's a, what's it called? Mobile Studio Pro. There's a Cintiq that is a mobile one. And we had Cintiq Companion. And it's basically, I think it's the same thing as the Mobile Studio Pro. I'm not sure if it's just a name change. But yeah, Wacom Companion 2nd generation. This is what I was using. And it's not good for me. Like, I did not like it. I found with this, I wouldn't actually say it's better. It's more expensive than an iPad Pro, first of all, or at least it was when I got mine. And it just, like, it has the parallax issue. You can even see here, like, oh, no, you can't. Anyway, it's just, it wasn't a good product. It was pretty disappointing. And I had this problem with basically, how much is a Cintiq? Cintiq is like $2,000 for me when I got mine. Anyway, and Bob Meatbag is not here because this is just spur of the moment, guys. This is like totally not proper, not planned or anything. But yeah, the reason you would get the Cintiq Companion is for mobility, but it's fatter, like it's like heavier. You hear the fan, but you can yeah, overheats, it lags. But you do have Photoshop. Like, that's the thing. That's like the biggest thing. And with the iPad, you can use Clip Studio and you can use Procreate. So for my work, I use Clip Studio and Photoshop. And so on the iPad, I figured I could use Clip Studio, which I actually don't use because I prefer Procreate. Flavia uses Clip Studio, and she finds it's just fine. But for me, I really didn't actually like it. I much prefer Procreate. And I mean, I wish I could show you Procreate, but I don't. Like, it didn't work. So I mean, that's why. So yeah, what was I talking about? Yeah, so get a cover, and oh, the grips. So the grips are super important. This is Flavia's grip, and this is my grip. So when you get the pen itself, it has no grip, and it's just this white long pen that's pretty heavy. Like, it was actually, I mean, it's heavier than a regular pen. It's much heavier than a Cintiq or a Wacom pen, but the problem with it is it's like, it's not like, oh, your hand is going to hurt because it's so heavy in terms of like you can't pick it up. It's just that it's a very thin pen, or pencil, I think they call it. So it's kind of ergonomically terrible for you. Like, it's bad to use because your fingers have to tighten too much to hold it. So what this does is it's like a triangular grip, super cheap. I got it like from China. It's only I don't remember how many dollars, but it's not expensive. $8 maybe. And it's triangular and it's comfortable and it just makes it completely fine. So after this, the grip is completely fine. And then, yeah, Flavia's is white. Fancy. So this is my case, the case I use. It's basically like a leather, faux leather, I think. They say it's genuine leather, but I don't believe that. And it's got this little hand grip thing. So you don't actually, like, you flip this cover underneath and it looks like it's going to fall off, but it never does. It's great. And the name of this cover is Z-Ta-Ta. That. I never knew what it said. So I'll put a link in the description if I can find it. And Flavia is using like this other one that can hold her business cards and whatnot. And it folds up and it's nice and whatnot. All right. So that's that. And yeah, it's really good as a sketchbook replacement. It's nice to use, but I do use Photoshop still for professional work because Procreate has a limit to 27 layers. Plus, I just don't feel like I can get as much detail with it. So for that reason, it's like a sketchbook replacement, but it's really good because I can do so much more with it. I feel like I'm improving a lot more on it because I can erase stuff. And I didn't realize this, so this is kind of a thing. Yeah, 27 layers. It's really, it kind of, you have to be creative. You have to think of ways around that, especially when you're doing like paintings. It really limits things. Plus, I think there's a size restriction.
Yeah.
There's like a certain amount of pixels, and I tend to use pretty big pixel sizes.
And it does lag when you use big files.
Yeah, it lags if you use big files. So if you work with it, it's fine. And the way I think about these is you can make pretty much anything work. Like if you have a Huion tablet and it's very small, you can make that work. I started with a 4x6 Wacom Graphite tablet. Let's see if I can show you what that looks like. Wacom Graphite 2. Was it 6 or was it 6? I guess it would be 6x4. Yeah, not this one. It was kind of like this one, but it was like a different blue color. Not this blue color. I guess it came in lots of different colors. But it was this size. It was this size. And it was fine for a while. Is the girl who was talking your wife? Yes. It was fine for a while, and then it got too small. Like I found I was getting hand cramps because I like to make very big lines. And then I'm giving you anxiety with all those pinned icons. Oh, I'm sorry about that. All right. Goodbye, Michael, Alf, and Art. Anyway, I didn't get the reference. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, I used that for a while, and it was fine. And then I upgraded to Intros 3, 12x9. These, and that was great. This is fine. Like this one was really good. I actually preferred it for a really long time over the Cintiq, and then I used the Cintiq, and then it was like, I get to show you just from Google Images. So then I got the Cintiq 22 HD, and this felt nice. Like it actually felt fine. But then Wacom had to go ahead and screw up their drivers constantly, and it pissed me off. And it was just like this freaking annoying thing. Like, whoa, they made a white one? Cool. Oh, it's a mock-up. Oh, anyway. Never mind, they didn't make a white one. So yeah, that was fine until driver issues and stuff. And then people had said good things about the iPad Pro. So I figured, well, I'd get one for Flavia, and then it was really good. Yeah. It was great. And then I was like, oh shoot, this is really good. This is like good. So then I got that. All right. So that's my iPad review. Finished. It has ended. iPad review over. All right. So do you have questions for me? What other apps do you use with the iPad? Okay. Well, I don't play games on the iPad at all. So what other apps do I use? Actually, nothing except for Procreate right now, and that's just because I want to keep it pretty empty of stuff. I don't want to add a bunch of stuff on it. I feel like I can do that with other things. I usually have my other screen in front of me, so like I have a PC and a laptop, and like this is a TV, and this is like hooked into that HDMI. That's like and then I draw on a bed, like that. So there's me, and then here's me drawing on my iPad. Okay. Hold it like this, and I draw. Here's my head. Draw like that, and then, you know, whatever. Maybe I have references on here, or maybe not. And yep. All right. Why did I not buy the Windows Surface Pro 2017? Because not everyone was saying it's so great. So everyone was saying the iPad was really good. So that's why. I don't know.
The screen doesn't show.
Oh, you just see the S? Okay, let me try that again.
That's a nice one.
Okay, does it work now? Sorry about that. I don't know why that was happening. See, the thing with technology is it doesn't always work. And they'll update it, and then it really doesn't work. So I'm really paranoid about these things now. Yeah, and Wacom drivers. Shame on you, Wacom. Shame on you for your drivers. I still use the Cintiq, so I feel like, well, I can't say they're like completely awful because I still use the thing, but I've been super disappointed. Wacom used to be very easy, like just like plug and play, and it's good. And I'm sure for some people that's their experience, but for so many of my students, I hear like problems or, oh, the pen's not working again or whatnot. And, so I don't get that issue with the iPad Pro. Do I still do traditional painting? Asks Janice Dory. No, I did. I did for a while. I did recently, actually. Like a few months ago, I was doing acrylics. You'll see it in, well, I don't know if you're a patron, then you'll see it in upcoming Pointy Chins. If not, it's fine. Don't worry about it. But anyway, yeah. And then, like, the thing with painting, that's one of the reasons I got the iPad is because, I look stupid here. One of the reasons I got the iPad was that I was spending, like, paints are expensive. It's like, fine, what, $12 to $20 for a paint tube, maybe $30 if it's like a fancy one. Am I getting paid to advertise that product? No, not at all. I don't think they would. I don't think Apple pays people. I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah.
I know Wacom sponsors certain people, doesn't sponsor me. I don't think they would ever now. And Wacom tablets are fine. I mean, they're like cheaper feeling than Wacom tablets for sure. I felt like they're a bit cheaper, but they do the job. So they're cheaper. They're cheaper in price and in feel, but they do the job. And I feel like Wacom products now are very overpriced. So let's see. Have you had any problems with the fact that the iPad colors are different than the colors most common screens show? Yes. Actually, Flavius had more problems with that than I have.
That's why I yelled yes.
the iPad colors are great, but it doesn't mean it translates over. The thing is, I tend to work within a pretty narrow range. So in Photoshop, for instance, you'll get like a color slider. Let's see if it's doing it. Is it going to do it? Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So if you look carefully, I don't know if you can see near where it says new and current, there's like this little, these boxes, right? So if you go to certain colors, you'll see this appear. It's like a warning sign, and it says warning out of gamut for printing. So those are the colors, like the ones with the warning sign are basically ones that if you use these colors and you print something, it's not going to print that color. It's too, it's too saturated or too, it's impossible for for that to print. So if you stay within, well, that one's out of gamut too. That one too. Come on now.
No reds. No reds for you.
No, there, it works now. Okay. That one was out. Oh, wow. But anyway, there are certain colors. So if you basically stay within like a safe range, your colors should be fine no matter what you work in. And then the thing I was telling Flavia is that the most important thing is relationships of color. Like if your values work, even if your colors are not printing perfectly, it's still going to be okay. What I would recommend is avoid going like pure black and avoid going pure white. Maybe stay like a bit of a, you know, like just a bit off white and a bit off black, and then you should be fine. And then Premiere. I hope they implement keyboard shortcuts though.
They have some.
Yeah. Flavia uses a keyboard. I don't actually use my keyboard. I got a keyboard that I just don't use, so I found I can just work without it. Can you animate in Procreate? Not that I know of, but they keep updating. That's the thing I really like about Procreate. It constantly is updating itself. And one time, like the last time it updated, no, the time before the last time it updated, actually the streaming stopped working. And I was looking for solutions, and people were like, oh, it was working fine before the update. And then this time, they kind of fixed the streaming, but it didn't actually fix it because it didn't work for me anyway. So, so that sucks, right? Like, updates don't work. But it did, like they implemented Liquify. They're making the selection tools better. It's got a very nice transform thingy. It just keeps getting better, so I really like it. And do you have a favorite anime artist? Kind of. Like, I like the work of Yoshinari Yo a lot, but I like his animation more than his illustration. Like, I like the animated work, and there's some people like that who they have really nice, like, sketchy lines, but when they do the final illustrations, I think they're okay. I don't know too many animators. I know him because I watched a documentary and he was in it. It was like a making of Kill la Kill documentary, which I recommend. Oh, do any of you guys watch or have seen this show? I really like watching this show. It's called Nanban. It's like a manga documentary show, and it shows like behind the scenes. So if you like manga, it's a very nice show. It's on NHK. I think you can watch them on YouTube. Can you? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube, and it's very, very fine programming. And I thought, yeah, it shows like behind the scenes in making manga. It's kind of like Bakuman, but
Live.
kind of. But I don't know. Anyway, I like that show. All right. Oh no, I drew it on the wrong layer. Okay. How much important is pen tilt for graphical tablets? I don't know. Like, it really depends. I use it a lot in Procreate, but I don't use it at all in Photoshop. I don't have the pen tilt on. So for me, it's not like super important for sure. You can totally do without it. Like everyone who was painting on tablets before they had pen tilt was fine. Like, they still made work. Okay. Manuel Reynoso says, sorry for spamming, but is it a bad idea to learn to draw on the iPad as opposed to traditional pencil and paper? I'm very beginner, but I'm getting an iPad regardless. Maybe. So here's the thing. I used pen and paper for a long time. I guess this is kind of spoilers, but not too much spoilers. So I'm not going to zoom in, but you can basically see. Okay, so I got the iPad here in May 6th, and so we've got a few months of iPad, and then all of this is pen and paper. Pen and paper, and it's like, okay, so some digital here. All right, and then here I was primarily doing digital work. Oh no, pen and paper. Okay, here I was primarily doing digital stuff. So I have a lot of like mileage for pen and paper, and so it's what it gives you is discipline. This is a huge thing. Discipline. Okay. It really helps for that. So I would recommend using it. But I also am finding that I learned slower on the on pen and paper. And the reason I learned slower, like I got good with lines and it taught me discipline. It taught me better visualization because when you're using pen, you can't erase pen. So you have to kind of plan it before you make a stroke. You have to plan like, okay, when I was drawing digitally, I would do a lot of like just kind of figuring it out as I go. Whereas with pen, you kind of like do this kind of thinking and, all right, so get the thing down. You know there's no erasing, so you just end up more careful. Whereas if you only, use digital, maybe you start with like this type of thing where you get the lines, but there's a lot more like fixing, oh, I drew a line, erase it, or draw a line and Control Z and draw a line and Control Z and Control Z and just, some people just do this forever. It's like a fun thing to do. All the kids are doing it. Control Z addiction. I think it's worse than the fentanyl deaths. I think more people have died with Control Z addiction.
That's only if you can control the addiction.
Oh, if you cannot control the addiction, it will control you. All right. So, yeah, so that's a problem that you kind of get over with pen and paper because you're not just drawing and then erasing and then drawing. You're more like, okay, I want to draw this line, for instance. If I do this and I get it wrong like that, I'm fucked. So I have to make peace with that. That's something. And then you can do the rest. Or you just like, that's fucked. So now or screwed up. And now I have to do another drawing. So, okay, so do another one and try not to screw it up in that way. So that's what you get with pencil, with traditional, is a lot of discipline. And what you get with traditional painting, which is really, really good. I would definitely recommend people, if you haven't painted traditionally, try it for a while. I used acrylics, like watered down acrylics, because watercolors are really difficult. But what it does is it kind of trains you to make brush strokes, and also it teaches you why texture brushes are important, because you get a lot of random things that happen with traditional, and so it helps you a lot when if you're painting. It helps a lot to learn traditional painting, I feel. Of course, it's not mandatory, and there are plenty of people who didn't learn traditional painting, but it sure helps. I would say that. But the good thing about digital and this undoing is if you have discipline, so you're not completely making everything, abusing it. Or even if you do have this Control Z and then redo or erase and redraw, I think erasing is better because it forces you to, actually be dealing with the lines and learning to make the right lines. But if you have that, then you actually have the opportunity to learn, right? Because if you're drawing and you are drawing in pen and you screw up and you have to redraw that drawing, fine, that sounds good, but you only have limited energy. Your energy is eventually going to run out. And when your energy runs out, you're going to be fried. And then you're likely not going to make those changes. So what digital affords is, and the erasing and stuff, it means you can afford to erase your mistake and learn from it. That's the important thing. Like if you do it very consciously, just don't make it so you're just mindlessly drawing. I think that's a huge problem. It's when people draw too mindlessly, and it's just like, I did this a lot, so I'm probably still doing this. I'm guilty of this from time to time, but mindless drawing, yeah, it can be really harmful because I'm not doing that right now, but you end up just not really paying attention and kind of wasting your time. That's not to say you have to be thinking of everything. You can be intuitively drawing and still not mindlessly drawing. And that's really hard to explain. I don't know. Let me see if there's any more questions, because some of the stuff I want to explain, it's like I haven't yet figured out how to explain it. And one of the things that's really hard to explain is intuitive drawing. Because after drawing for quite a while, many years, I've realized that I draw better intuitively, but I had to learn how to draw intuitively, and that was all psychological. So I don't know how to teach that yet. I don't know, how do you teach someone that, especially if they don't have mileage? Because if you've been drawing a lot, what happens, and I've mentioned this before, is your brain actually changes. And this is why I recommend people draw a lot. And most of the people who show me their work, and they're like, what do you think? The answer I always give, or almost always give, is like, it's good, but you need to be drawing more. Like, it's fine, you're on your way, but draw more. And a lot of people, especially nowadays, really obsess over finishing techniques. Like they want to finish everything and make it all nice. And it looks nice, but it also kind of looks wrong. But who knows? I mean, maybe that's the new thing, is to just do that. Sorry, I don't know what I'm drawing. All right, so let's see. Do we have any more questions?
A question from Janice.
From Janice. Okay, let me look up Janice. Okay, I paint a lot with oils. The only problem I have is getting the different values and colors of flesh, but I really enjoy doing it. Any tips, books, recommendations on that? Yep, there is the book, which I don't know, you probably already, maybe you've heard of it, I'm not sure, but it's Alla Prima by Richard Schmid. I think that's how it's spelled. And it's called Alla Prima. Does Alla Prima, does the L have two L's? Yeah. It's two L's, yeah. Right? Alla Prima. And it's called Everything I Know About Painting by Richard Schmid. Very, very good book. This one. I got this one. Some people may have the expanded edition, but I didn't get expanded. Yeah, so Richard Schmid, great artist, great oil painter, and pretty much got most. Someone did a caricature? Oh, anyway, that's him. That's what he looks like. I don't know who drew it, if he drew it or someone else drew it of him. But anyway, great book. All right.
Isn't that James Gurney?
Did James Gurney draw that?
Well, it's on his website.
It's on his website. I don't know if he drew it, but sure. Okay. Jaime Ramirez? Is it Jaime? I'm not sure if it's Jamie or Jaime. Any advice on growing a YouTube channel for someone just starting out? No, I don't. I think I would, if I was to make a YouTube channel now, I think I would fail horribly. I do everything wrong. And there's so much competition. There's so many good people. What I would suggest, though, is with anything, consistency. Like, if you're consistent and you're uploading, and this is something I don't do anymore, but I did it for a really long time. If you're uploading like at least every once a week, that's good. And you kind of have to do it for a couple of years without any expectation of anything. So yeah. I mean, again, you're competing a lot, and in terms of money, if you're thinking like, well, maybe I'd make money off YouTube, I would think again, because that's not the environment we live in anymore. You might want to think about other options, or I mean, it could work. It could work. It really depends what you're using YouTube for. A lot of people are using it now for, I think, just getting recognition. And there's so many. It's like a saturation. It's like everyone needs to have a YouTube channel now. Whereas when I was doing it way back when, it wasn't like the popular thing, but now it really is. And I don't know. I don't know what to say about YouTube. I can tell you I'm kind of worried about it for myself. Okay. Are there any books for backgrounds, architecture, or landscapes? I imagine so, but I don't really know them. So I can't really say. Yevsan asks, what do you think of Proco's kangaroo drawing? I don't know it. I haven't seen Proco stuff in quite a while. I'm very much an evangelist for this guy, Ray Bustos. He's my favorite anatomy guy. Super, like, I'm learning so much. I'm learning all sorts of things. I think he's great. What he does that's so great is he actually knows anatomy from studying cadavers and stuff. And so when he draws, he tells you like the important things that I wish I knew, but I didn't know. And it's like hidden things that really help, like how certain muscles connect or little tricks, stuff like that. And okay. Mobius Loop asks, what are your book recommendations on values? I am extremely poor at them. Books on values. I mean, Richard Schmidt's book is pretty good for values. I would say Alla Prima is still a good book. But when it comes to values, I kind of learned more from, I learned a lot from like a private teacher I was studying with. And then later I took a course by Jason Seiler on schoolism. And he covered pretty much the same things, but it was a caricature course. So it's like, I don't know. There probably are other people who teach things on values. I think I made some videos on it, but in terms of books, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure there must be. Ray Bustos have some classes in NMA. That's right. That's how I saw his stuff. It's on New Masters Academy. You can. They had like a membership discount thing, and they gave me a link for that. I don't think it's still in effect, but you can still. I still recommend Ray Bustos, even if you don't get a lifetime membership. Maybe there's like a month membership or something, and he's real good. Janice says, have you heard of Cesar Santos? And if so, do you enjoy his work? I think I know about Cesar Santos. I watch his videos. I think he's like very passionate about what he does, and that's nice to see. It's nice to see, like, he seems like a genuine person, and that's very good. I like people who are genuine. In terms of like, do I get much out of it? Well, yeah, he's kind of talking about a different style of art than I'm doing. Like, maybe when I was doing realistic painting, I would have found it really good, but I don't disagree with his with what he says. So I think like he's fine. I watched an interview he did with a guy from the Angel Academy, the founder, Mr. Angel. I don't know what he's called.
Angel sounds like from Buffy or something.
Yeah, I don't know what he's called. But he was, I was listening to it, and he was saying pretty much like everything he said. I was like, yeah, that's good, good advice, great. So I would recommend that interview for sure. Okay, any tips or tutorial suggestions for a SCI user who wants to start using Photoshop for drawing? I haven't used it personally, but everyone tells me this is good. Lazy Nezumi. Nezumi is mouse, so I guess it just helps you if you're using a mouse, but whatever. Anyway, it basically is stabilization for Photoshop. So you get that plugin, and that should help. But other than that, I don't really have much. I don't think SCI is worse for drawing. Like, I don't feel like Photoshop is necessarily better for drawing than SCI. Just to put that out there, I think SCI can probably do really good stuff. So if you're not having a problem, you don't necessarily, like, there's no reason you can't just do drawings in SCI, and then if you're going to paint in Photoshop, well, you can still, I hope you can save things as PSDs in SCI. Not sure. But yeah. If you use Lazy Nezumi, you're lazy. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think, yeah, it's something you can train your hand skills, if that's what you're saying. I personally don't use it. But at the same time, I don't know. I wouldn't say necessarily you're lazy, but, you know, whatever. All right. Okay, so have you thought of exploring other forms of art like sculpting, music, or crafts? By Lapla. Yes. So, okay. With sculpting, I've tried a few times to do sculpting over a bunch of years, and I'm not, like, I screw up and I get frustrated, and I think it's a character flaw, but I just don't have enough time to devote into it, and that's the same for pretty much everything else. Music, it's something that, again, I did a lot, or not a lot, but a little bit over many years, and then due to time constraints, it's more like it feels like I've got so much to do with drawing that I have no time for anything else because I need to get better at drawing. Yeah, that's, sorry if that's not a great answer, but that's an honest one. All right. Question: what is the most messed up drawings you've ever seen? I don't know. I feel like I've seen a drawing recently that was very messed up, but I don't remember it and I can't find it. I have a bad memory, but like I recall looking at a drawing recently and just being shocked. But maybe that was the intent. Okay, Valen asks, I have come to a somewhat decent grasp on drawing and how to improve it, but I don't understand painting at all. I tried doing grayscale stuff, but I don't get how to shade at all. Okay, so the big thing that you're probably encountering is the transition from line to shape. That's something that's pretty huge. So, you know, people who like to draw, they tend to, you know, draw an outline of a thing, and then they think of everything as like in line. And with painting, you've kind of got to change that and start seeing things as shapes. So let's say that's the drawn version. Instead, you've got to think of like, I'm not going to draw around this. I'm going to make my brush the size of this and then kind of block in this. So I'm not thinking about the lines. I'm thinking about the shapes. And if you get a big brush, let's say you're used to a pencil that's this size. If you get a brush that's like, I don't know, how big should it be? Oh, maybe like this big. It's gonna make it so you can't really draw with lines anymore. So you have to think more in shape. So that's one of the things. If that's your issue, I'm just assuming that's your issue. I'm not sure. You can clarify, but yeah, you've got to think more in shapes and then like breaking shapes down. So like this area here in the drawing, it's like a line, and you could add shading and do something like this, for instance, to convey that this is a round form and it's going into shadow. For this, I'd have to kind of block out that shape. So again, I'm not thinking in terms of line, I'm thinking in terms of shape. And that's kind of hard to get, but once you keep doing it, it does get easier. So learning to see things in terms of shapes as opposed to lines is really the key. And then, I mean, a lot of people, what happens, and this is kind of how I did it, and pretty much most of the people who were around in the olden days kind of did this. It was very common for people to draw this way. But what would happen is you start with a drawing, and then you color it. And the first times you're coloring, you tend to do very, like color in the lines, kind of like at school, what you're supposed to do. All right, so that's like the first stage one. I colored my drawing in. Then what happens is you kind of move on to stage two. So I'm going to add some shading. So what they do is they tend to pick like a dead color. What I mean by dead is like it's not very colorful. It's like a gray usually. And they kind of add shading. And then you kind of cell shade everything. And then at some point and you can also add your highlights. And you're still kind of thinking like you're drawing or whatever, but at some point you start to blend these things, and it's like, okay, now I'm kind of mixing colors and getting a bit more. And then as you do this over and over, you start to realize like, hey, I could, instead of like doing it cell shading and then kind of blending it, I could just kind of start with a brush and just sort of block things in. And then over time, you just kind of move it. So you find, oh, now I don't even need to draw in the lines. I could just block in bigger shapes. And then you kind of move to the shape side of things where you're drawing the shapes and blocking them in, and then kind of like correcting after the fact, to get the edges. Sorry for the creepy doll things. I don't know if anyone commented.
They did.
Oh, they commented on the...
That baby is terrifying. That thing on the right is terrifying. Straight out of Silent Hill.
Sorry about that.
I like it.
I'll make it happy.
It even looks like it's dripping blood.
There, now they're both happy. All right. Okay. Hey, hi, Sycrastream. Should I master drawing before painting? You know, I wish I could say yes, but the idea of mastering is like, I don't know who, like, master drawing. I'm so far from being a master of drawing, and I'm already painting, so I feel like that's a bit too high of a standard to be a master. It's a word I don't know what you mean by master. That's a very hard, like, master is hard.
How to master mastering?
Yeah, I think, you know, in the olden days, what a master was a person who, like, you would take an apprenticeship with a master. So you're like the student. I'll just take these off because I don't want to scare people. You're like the student, and you got your little brush, and you have your master, and he's like the master, and you're an apprentice, and there's a bunch of other apprentices. So you study for like 10 years or something, maybe 20 years, and then you make a piece, and then that is your graduation piece. And when you make,
Nothing, just your drawings.
Oh, and then this piece that you make is like, kind of, you've learned all the stuff the master has been teaching you, and now you are ready to go into the world, and you make your masterpiece. So you've made all your apprentice pieces, you know, they're like not so great. This guy's got 3 eyes. This one, you know, who knows? But this one, hey, he's looking all right. And they had like the cherubs with wings and stuff, so he's got them too. So this is your masterpiece, and that basically says, I am now a master. And then you have your own, like, I don't know, studio. I think they had guilds at that time. And then you teach other people. And they're your helpers and stuff, and they're like interns. So, but now master's kind of changed. It's not just like you're finished a thing, because before, like, a master's degree, you're already a master. But now, like, master seems like an old master, and that feels like there's only a handful of. It feels like there's only a handful of masters in the world anyway now. Okay, let's look for questions. How many times did you say olden days? Well, in the olden days, I didn't say it too much, but now that I'm getting a bit older, okay. I heard oils take a lot of time in terms of brush care and stuff. What other traditional media would you suggest to learn painting? Acrylics. You can use acrylics. Watercolors are popular, but I would suggest looking up tutorials. Like, watercolor is crazy. It's very difficult to control media. So definitely look up tutorials. But with acrylics, you don't really need to. You just like, what I like to do with acrylics is just water them down a lot. I don't know why I drew this upside down, but anyway, you like use it I use it very diluted. I don't even know what I'm drawing. A brush? Guess I'm drawing a brush. And like, here's a water. Use a lot of. I do it this way, and it's kind of the lame way to do it. I think the cool way is like, no, you put out your paints, you mix, you get the perfect color, and you put it down. But I'm still not that cool. So I use it thin. Acrylic. And the problem with acrylics is they dry darker than you paint, and they dry really fast. So you have to make sure your brushes are clean. Like, you do not let your brush dry with acrylic paint on it, or that is a dead brush. And then what else? Dries fast, dries darker, doesn't have that cool, like oil paint has this very cool thing of the oil and the paint. It's just beautiful, and acrylic doesn't have that. It's a bit more dead. But yeah, I think that's it. But it's a good alternative. Nobody knows, Ivy. I'm not answering that question. Okay, Maddie Wren says, I always seem to have a hard time getting fully into inking, either traditional or digital. Any tips on getting more into inking or even practicing more? I kind of suck with inking personally. But what I would recommend is kind of what Will Terrell said he did. So I'm just saying Will Terrell's advice. So if you're not familiar with him, this is his name, Will Terrell, I think with 2 L's. And he basically said he took a sketchbook of all his drawings, and then he inked them all. What am I doing here? Okay. He inked them, and then he learned how to ink. So I guess that's a good way of going about it. You just ink your old drawings, and then you learn how to do it. Like, I would say a good rule is to trust yourself. Like, a lot of people look for advice, and I get why. It's probably like you feel overwhelmed, or like, I'm not sure what to do and I don't want to screw up. But the thing is, you can do a lot. You can figure out a lot. This is one of the hardest things, is that, you know, trying to convince people that you know a lot of stuff and you can figure it out. So I would trust yourself. Okay. Pumagami says, I have a moderately sized following on Instagram, but on other platforms I don't have any. Trying to get noticed, but I feel like it's never going to work. Should I do more fan art to get noticed? What do you think, Flavia? You're like the expert on this.
Oh now. Boy, I don't even have a moderately sized following on Instagram. I've got a very tiny following on Instagram, but it really depends where you want to be in terms of social stuff, because what I've noticed is each of the platforms is kind of different.
Yeah.
Instagram seems more like, oh, share stuff in a certain color scheme with a certain content to like negative space ratio. Whereas on stuff like ArtStation, it's like share stuff every few days. And on Instagram, it's like, no, you've got to share every day. You've got to post every single day for quite a while to get into their algorithm. And it seems to be the same for Facebook. And I don't really know about DeviantArt. I don't have anything on DeviantArt. I don't really know about the fan art stuff, unless.
I mean, it is a good viable, like.
Yeah, it's a viable thing, because you can use the tags then and get sort of in the feed, in people's feed who are looking for certain tags. But from what I've seen about Instagram, especially, it's kind of, no, you just have to be consistent and you have to post every single day. I wish Jet was here.
Yeah. But he does a lot of fan art, so.
He does a lot of fan art, and
he recommended it.
Yeah, he's super consistent.
Fan art. Yeah, what surprised me is just kind of how each platform has a different rule, and you can be really like pretty successful in one, and that doesn't guarantee you'll be successful in the others, which is really weird to me. But that is how it is now. Okay, let's see. Okay, you mentioned before on a stream that there's really good furry artists. Which one is your favorite? Well, I know you're a very good furry, very good artist, Yeb-san. So maybe you're my. I don't know. I don't. Oh, Ovalpack. He's my favorite.
He's a furry?
I don't know. So I'm not really in the know for furries, but I like this guy and he draws animals. Are animals furries? Do they count?
I draw
Yeah. I really like Ovalpack though. But Yab-san, you're very good. Yab-san, I'll put your name on the stream in case anyone wants to check you out. How about that? How'd you like them apples? All right. Okay. What is one bad habit, attitude, and/or art-wise you acquired as a beginner artist that took a while to shake off? Oh, so many. Like pretty much everything. Okay, so one of the worst things I did was listen to other people. This is like, you shouldn't even be listening to me right now. Like, anyway. But not just trusting that, you know, if you do stuff, you'll figure it out. But rather seeking advice, and then people would say, oh, maybe you should try this, maybe you should try that. And I kind of did, like all of that, and stay out of your comfort zone and stuff. Well, yes, it's kind of like every case is different. So some people, for instance, will never give positive reinforcement because they think that's not good and that you're not going to make someone stronger if you compliment them. But that really depends on the person you're talking about. So for me, positive reinforcement really would have helped. And everyone that I got any kind of positive thing from, it never made me like full of myself. It always made me want to draw more. But when I got negative things, I got this like rage, anger thing that is very anime based. Like in animes, usually the main character gets angry at some point, and when they get angry, they get like explosive power, just like crazy. They go whatever, the Super Saiyan, or you know, their whatever chakra comes out, or you know, like it's like you get angry and then success happens. But I didn't really have this experience. It was more like I would get angry and I was like, I'm gonna show them, and God damn it, I'm not gonna be the artist that everyone says the shit and whatever. But what happened is it just like, yeah, you might do a bit of work, or at least I might have done a bit of work, but then it fizzles out. And had I just stayed away from certain advice or people, and if I just could have believed in myself more, I think it would have been much better. I think I would have benefited way more. So many things that you do are like, it looks not so great in the beginning. It's a bit like cooking, you know, with the cooking show, like you bake the thing and it looks like crap at first, but then after...
I think you mix the thing first.
Well, yeah, you mix the thing and you bake, you put it in the oven, but, you know, maybe it's like, ugh, it doesn't look very good. But then after, you know, it's properly baked, it's like, oh, that's actually really nice now, and cool. So it's more like trusting yourself, but I don't know if this, you know, this really, everything I'm saying depends so much. And this is one of the hardest things that I'm finding is being a teacher and trying to teach people in a global way, you know, instead of one-on-one. When you're just like, hey, here's some advice. It's like, yes, well, that may work or it may not. I watched tons of videos. I watched tons of tutorials, and I made lots of tutorials as well, showing what I figured out. But that doesn't mean that it's like anything I say is great or correct. Like, think about it first and ask yourself, does this resonate with me? Does this make sense? And trust that you kind of have a sense of things, and also trust that people won't be able, like, if you're doing something innovative and new and interesting often, people will not likely see that in the beginning. Because what'll happen is, let's say they're used to seeing a vase and it looks like this, okay? And you have this idea, like you're gonna make a vase that looks like this or something. Pretend this is like cool, okay? This is cool. All right, so what they're gonna see is you're on the way to make this. Let me put it on this side. On this vase, this is the cool one, and this is the normal one. Okay. You probably end up trying to learn the normal one, and then it's like, all right, here's my normal one. People are like, you know, it's pretty good. You still need to work on it. So they say like, not bad. You know, work on it more. But then when you do, like, you're actually like, oh, I kind of want to make this taller and make it into this cool thing because this is what I have in my head, right? And you kind of do this. Then they're going to say like, wow, you got worse. You know, because what they're thinking is you want to make this. They don't think you want to make this because they can't see this because nobody's seen this. This is like, you know, it's got like USB ports in it, surround sound, everything, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. Like, you can pour water in and it just fries the whole thing. So it's very amazing. But they'll think you're trying to do this, so they'll actually tell you your stuff looked better before, you know, go back to that fundamental. And then if you know, like, oh, it needs to be this and it needs to be that, and you might do this, and then they're like, now you're getting better. But actually, you're kind of further from this. So if you can ignore the people and what they say, and you do this, but you know, I'm aiming for this. And this is very hard to believe in yourself. For some people, it's not so hard. For me, it's very hard. But if you can believe that, I'm so sorry this isn't a cool vase in reality. I really wish it was, but it's totally not. But if you can believe in this, then when they say, you know, anything, or you don't even show them, and you just think like, well, is this closer to this than this? Yes, I'm going in the right direction. Is this closer? Yes. And then maybe, you know, your next one would be one that's much closer. And then you move towards your goal. But the problem is nobody can see you're doing this. And when you try to explain it, you might say, I'm trying to make a vase, and everyone's first idea is this. They're just thinking, ah, yes, you want to make the thing that I know. And I've had this so many times. Like, this experience with me has happened pretty much every time I've tried to change my style or do something different. I always get, like, people kind of want to encourage you, but they want to see, like, well, what box do you fit in, right? So which one of these boxes is meant for you? And maybe you don't fit in a box. Maybe you're something new, or, you know, you want to do something different. Well, they're still going to try to find the box that fits you, and they'll think they're helping you, but they're not. Flavia, what's your Instagram? I can write it.
I wrote it before.
Okay. Oh,
Again.
No, I'll just put it on this.
All right.
So me.
Oh.
All right.
Look, Kumagami is trying to sign up for the forum, but it doesn't work.
Sorry about that.
Oh no.
Sorry.
Oh no.
Oh no. So Bumagami, you can try emailing. I guess probably I can give you my email. Okay. Okay, so BWIW1800 asks, I've always loved your videos and have found them very helpful. Thank you for that. Where do you find clients when freelancing? How do you start out as a freelance artist? Okay, so this is something that I don't know for right now because it always changes. But I think the principle is quite sound. So what I did is I found people who are also doing stuff. And so I started by, well, I did the YouTube video, so I kind of got known by that. But then I was doing live streaming for a while. And a few of us were doing live streams. And I also met people on forums. But anyway, we're doing live streams and we're all kind of like looking for work and then trying to improve and get better. And like if one of us found work, the other ones kind of got like, what happens is often clients will say like, I need this project done. And a person who has work is like, well, I'm really busy. I'd love to do it, but I just don't have time. And then the client will say, can you recommend anyone? And then what happens is if you know people, they can say, yeah, I know a guy who's looking for work and they're very good and here's their portfolio. And that's kind of how it was for me. I didn't actually apply to anybody. I just it was like a word of mouth thing. And then you kind of return the favor. So if someone else who, is, they're working really hard and they're improving a lot, then you recommend them. And then it's good. So, all right. Where did the sound go? There's no sound? No, there's
sound.
Okay. Okay. So any more questions? I'm trying to find the questions. I'm not seeing a lot of questions. Okay. Oh, Force Animation says, have you seen Keenan Lafferty's videos? I recommend watching his videos 500%. He explains technique so well, it's crazy he's doing it for free. Yeah, actually, I have seen Keenan Lafferty's videos, and also I have recommended them before. So, yeah, I will write his name. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of people already know of him. But yeah, I agree. He has very good. He's very helpful with his advice. Very honest, and forthcoming. So that's great. I totally get the innovative thing. All of Instagram art these days is just red-nosed, bug-eyed girls that it feels like any artist that attempts to get out of the mold, they get lesser followers. Yeah. Kind of know what you mean. Let's draw some Instagram red-eyed, red-nosed, bug-eyed girls.
Someone asked, what is the most common mistake? One of the most common mistakes you see nowadays?
Hands, like terrible hands. I see people draw terrible hands. I don't draw great hands. I draw, okay, hands, but like terrible hands are really, yeah, they have like the blanks there, right? And they have freckles. And a little nose. Is this the Instagram girl? I don't know. I think the eyes are more like this. Yeah, so, you know, bad anatomy, bad perspective, a lot of photo bashing-y stuff where it's like, you know, you can tell it's not really understood. That's probably the most common stuff right now. All right, let's add some red.
That's a Tumblr node.
That's Tumblr?
Tumblr
Okay.
node, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's add some skin tone first. Now, let's get famous. All right. All right. Now I am famous. It was long time getting here, but I'm so happy to be here today. I am happy, and on Instagram I'm a famous man. All right. That's cool. See, her eyes are white as well. And the hair is also white. I'm actually not making fun of something. I'm just trying to do. Like, is that what they draw?
I don't know.
And then it's like make it all fancy, but like different colors. Cool. All right. There are a bunch of questions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are these bunch of questions? I still have problems with proportions. Any exercises to help me? I think I made a lot of videos on proportions. So look up Sycra, how to get, I think it's called How to Get Better at Drawing Proportions, or, okay, that doesn't sound exactly right. It's something, but. I need to put a highlight on the nose. Do they put highlights on is that a thing? You put highlights everywhere?
I think you put many things in the eyes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I know. I've seen this before. You put like all sorts of things like moons, stars, moons, stars, and suns.
That looks like some strange flag.
And they do the colors, right? Like you make the colors and then you, let's see, modify, contract.
And I think you put a filter on it.
Okay.
That's different.
There. Now there's everything. Okay. Did you change your mind about Inktober? Asked PC Alexandru. No. I didn't. I don't know. Okay. I've lost. Oh, do you know any more questions?
Yeah.
I keep losing them.
How good or accurately do you think one should be at drawing before starting their own art?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Chin Wookie, how good accurately do you think one should be at drawing before starting their own art? No! You start your art first, then you get better at drawing.
Yeah.
Like, don't not start art.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it.
That's everything. That's the reason, is that you have to. It takes time. So trust that, you know, you might not draw well, but you got to start somewhere. And usually the first place to start is at the bottom. Sorry, trying to draw and think at the same time. Okay, are there more questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Failed Link says, "Hey Sycra, I'm about to enter school for animation. I'm thinking about starting a channel to show people how to animate from a student's perspective. Any tips for growing an audience?"
No, I'm sorry. I suck at this myself. I'm not doing too well on YouTube anymore because I don't really get in people's subscription feeds a lot. I mean, you guys made it somehow, but a lot of the people are not finding me so easily. So,
but I think it's good. It's good to do.
I think it's good anyway.
Yeah.
Like I think that idea is good, and also for the thing about drawing the audience or growing an audience, I would really recommend if you're gonna do videos, try not to have that in your mind and just make them because you want to make them. Because if you do that, then there's no real failure, right? Like, if it doesn't work, whatever, it's fine. But if your goal is like, well, I'm gonna make a successful channel, then you've got a bunch of stuff on your mind, and there are ways of doing this. I mean, there's like a YouTube creator playbook. Read that because that's what everyone will tell you, I guess. And I don't follow it because I don't know. I'm just not. I don't have that brain.
So Scowl asks, between realism and stylistic art, is there one that you find easier to draw, and is there one that you prefer to see?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it changes now. Now I would say I'm better at stylized art because I do it more, but before I was much better at realism. And I prefer stylized pretty much always because I think I really had this huge fascination with realism until I could kind of do it and see how it was done, and then I just lost interest. It was more like I was, and this happens a lot, especially with artists who are learning. I feel like you admire something because you can't do it. And it seems amazing because it's like, wow, isn't this cool? This is what real artists can do. And I can't do that. So therefore, I'm not as good or something like that. But I don't know. Once you can do it, that kind of disappears. And it's more like, wait, what? Why did I? Okay, yes, I can do that. And I don't know, maybe that won't be your experience. Some people don't have that at all. I think they have long eyelashes, right?
Yeah, they've got long eyelashes and colorful ones.
Okay.
I think you're supposed to make them pastel and stuff.
Okay. I'll make them long and then I'll make them pastel.
Meanwhile, Army of Radishes asked if you recommend taking art classes.
It really depends who the teacher is. So what you can do is see who else has taken that and what their progress has been. If you're like social, because I was not that social, but that's really a good advice is like ask people.
I don't know if you answered this one. How do you place a character in the background and not have the character look out of place?
What do you mean by place a character in the background and not have the character look out of place? I'm not sure what.
I think they mean like it doesn't look pasted on, the character. Like how do you make it feel like it's in the environment?
Perspective is a big one. So, okay, let me just finish up on the eyelashes. I'm almost done. Okay. So if you have, I mean, you got to know a bit of perspective. I'm not sure what you're asking, whether you're asking about cohesion. Like if you're using a photo background, for instance, and you put a character in, I don't actually know how to do that.
I think even with a flat color, if you carry the background color into the lighting on the character, it'll look more...
Yeah, so if you're talking about colors, make sure you use a consistent palette. So whatever you put on the character, you kind of have some of that in the background too. another thing is perspective. Like that's a huge thing. So perspective is all about how you are seeing an image, where you are. So kind of, either where the viewer is looking or where the camera is. And for that, you have to make sure, like, let's say I have multiple figures in a composition. If a guy's like here, he's this tall, all right, and I want to make someone in the distance of the same height. Well, you look, okay, so this is the horizon line. Where does it cross his body? Well, it crosses around like his chest. So even if a person's super far in the distance, like here, it's still got to cross along his chest. And then they'll feel like they're in the same perspective. It feels like he's the same height. And if someone's a bit shorter, like that, maybe it crosses their neck. Then wherever they are, it's going to cross their neck. Even if they're really close to the camera, they are now this height. So stuff like that is important, but I'm not, 100% sure what the question is asking. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop this soon because I wasn't really planning to do this. Okay. How come in the real world I only come across people who do realism while I never meet people who do stylized work? Especially in school, when I toured colleges, I never see more stylistic artists. I don't know. Maybe it depends where you are. I know culturally, realism is appreciated a lot more in North America than it is in other parts of the world. If you were in France, I think they like style. In Japan, they like style. I think in Brazil, like in different cultures, there's a different appreciation for these things. And it's also kind of dependent on trends. So right now, realism is kind of popular and making everything look realistic. But 3D is also on the rise. So more and more people are getting into 3D and are able to more effectively create this realistic look than a traditional artist, a person who's actually painting everything from scratch. So the trends probably will switch at some point, and then stylistic things might be more in demand again. Or maybe AI will learn how to do everything, and then we're all screwed. So I don't know. But I feel like I kind of know what you mean, and I can't do, like, my stylized stuff is still much less in demand than my realistic stuff. That's kind of the nature of working in North America, I suppose, or even in Europe. Do you use references when you draw your own stuff, or is it from your imagination? Do you still practice your fundamentals in drawing? Yeah, of course. I use references sometimes, and I draw from imagination often. So both. And I always try to practice fundamentals. That's, yeah, for sure. All right, so let's do one or two more questions. Why do people say illustration is dead? How do you feel about this subject matter? I'm not sure. People have said illustration is dead a lot earlier, like when photos came around. Pretty much that's when everyone was like, oh, now that there's a camera, illustration is dead. And illustration sort of changed. It didn't die. It just kind of became more stylized, more expressive, because capturing something realistic, well, a camera can do that. So it's cheaper to do it that way. And as for now, I don't think illustration is necessarily dead. But what people do say is, more and more 3D becomes part of it. I've been shown a lot of webcomics lately, and it's remarkable how much is 3D. Like, tons of them, just the characters are 3D posed models. Yeah. And then they're either drawn over, and in some cases, like especially with the backgrounds, they're not even drawn over. It's just like, oh, that's Google SketchUp. That's just a thing. That's not even whatever. So I don't know. But I will say in general, art is a hard career. And when people used to say it's too hard, like you can't make a living as an artist, I feel like that's nonsense. Of course you can make a living as an artist, but then there was a truth to it, which is it's very, very difficult to make a living as an artist. And because people said you can't, or, oh, my teacher said you can't do it, or my teacher said you need to be talented, or my parents said you need this, or my friend said you can't do it if you're not like at this level. Well, what happened is there were artists who heard that, who were making money, who were making a living, who said that's nonsense. Maybe they weren't talented. So they said you don't have to be talented. I wasn't even the best artist in the class. And so what happened is you had this counter. So first you hear you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. Then you hear it's possible, it's possible, it's possible. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it. The truth is neither of those extremes, because what happens is the people who did it, let's say the people who aren't that talented, they're extremely dedicated. They put in so much effort to overcome that. And that's something where people tend not to have that dedication. And so how do you achieve success without the one thing that a person without talent needs, which is like hard work and perseverance and those three things, but it's kind of the same thing. Well, you don't really. So without dedication, without, like, people often say passion. I think that's fair. Like, yes, passion goes a long way, but hard work, like putting in, maybe it's not even hard work. It doesn't have to be hard work, but a lot of experience, a lot of mileage really, really helps. And then also business skills, networking skills. Like, there are people who are really, really good artists and they are terrible people. And what happens is, if you recall, if you were around for earlier in the stream, I was talking about how you get jobs and how, oh, you know, maybe your friend who's working gets a client, and then the client's like, I'm looking for people, and your friend's like, hey, I recommend this guy. If you're a total jerk, a total douchebag, and you're like, well, I'm better than you and whatever, chances are you're not going to get many clients. You might not know how to write an email properly. You might not know how to be nice. You might have pissed off a lot of people. You might have insulted people. You might have said like, your work sucks and you're no good. I'm much better than you. And then it's like, yeah, guess what? No one will want you. No one will hire you. You'll be all alone. And these people sometimes do get hired because they're so good, but that lasts a very short time because the industry is small if you are working in the industry. But even outside, like, things spread, rumors spread. I mean, recently we saw a lot of videos about CTN Expo, which we didn't know that, oh, it's really bad, and the founder is quite an awful person. Well, I don't know them personally, and I've never been to CTN Expo, but it's like these things spread. So, yeah. All right. Okay, seriously, how do you use a lightning bolt technique if you still use it? I don't use it anymore. Sycra, are you Jewish? No. But I can show you how to use it. So the lightning bolt technique is basically, if you want to draw a leg from the side view, there's a rhythm to the leg. If you draw this lightning bolt, you've created a curve, a straight, and a curve. Then you create another straight and another straight. That doesn't look like a leg, but if you do it properly, it kind of does, because it's like you have straights and curves. It's an animation principle, and it basically makes the animation principle easier. But as it, like, now I just kind of draw tentacle shapes. If you've seen my, I think it was maybe it was a few videos ago, but there was a video on how to draw poses or something, and I was using like these tentacle shapes. That's kind of what I do. What I also do, which is helping a lot, is, okay, so let's say I draw a head. All right. So I draw this head. Then I think to myself, like, where would the body be? Where's the shoulder? Where's the hand? So, okay, I'm trying to imagine that I'm not looking at a head that I drew. I'm imagining that this head exists and the person is there on the page, and I only see their head. And it's like, where's their hand? How big is their hand? And depending on what I want them to do, like, let's say, okay, they're running towards us. Well, like, one of their hands is probably like here, and then the other, maybe it's there, and then like their body's doing like this thing, and then their knee, like, where's their knee? And I try to imagine it as if that's a real person and not a drawing. And like where would their knee be if this was a person or if this was the picture in my head? Because I can't hold on to an image in my head. But what I can do is sort of feel out, like, okay, if this is the hand, where's the elbow? It feels like it would be like around there. Where's the shoulder? It feels like it's around there. Okay, so well, you've got to get from this hand to this elbow to the shoulder. So, okay, so the arm is going to be bent like this. And then this is going to be the back. Okay, and then what's the hand doing? Like maybe it's like spreading out. Okay, where are the fingers? Like I can kind of like hover until it feels right. It's like somewhere around there. And then the thumb is like here. And then that creates a shape. And then you break this down into fingers. And then, okay, so now his leg, where's his leg? Like, where's his knee? Like, kind of like there. It feels like that's kind of a place for it. And what about the other leg? Well, that really depends what he's doing. If he's like, is he twisting? Because then maybe, again, I'm just trying to feel it out. Like there feels kind of good. So then I put that down. And then you kind of build the pose that way. That's how I'm doing it now. But remember how I said I have trouble teaching? It's like, yeah, this you get this when you have tons of mileage, I think. I'm not sure how, like maybe it's easy. Maybe anyone can do it because I never tried to do it before this way. But I'm not sure if it's just because I've done a lot of drawings, I can start to feel these things more. You know, like where's a foot? Like back here somewhere. Maybe this one is like here. And yeah, stuff like that. All right, so I think that's it for the time I have. I'm sorry for the super late stream. Again, this was not planned. I originally started as an iPad stream, so it turned into art advice. I hope that's okay. Hope you got something out of it. I hope this helped. Oh, thanks, Flavia.
Hi.
Special guest. Yeah. Thanks for coming out, everybody who did.
Yeah.
And for everyone who gave questions and everyone who sadly had to wait for the stream, although it's not, you know, the iPad stream didn't quite work out. I'm sorry if you, I hope nobody's still there, like just waiting, like, oh my God, it's live, because it wasn't turning off.
Because no, it's fine. It's gone.
It's gone?
It's
Good.
gone.
Great. Okay, great. Yeah, but it still says it's live.
No, I don't think so. I think it.
Okay, all right. Hope this helped, and thanks for watching.